All right, so Blaise and I focus specifically on the Fourth Amendment, but Edward Snowden in particular. The Fourth Amendment overall emphasizes the right to privacy and implies that one must obtain a search warrant from the government in order to search through one's belongings and their home. Now, with regards to Edward Snowden in particular, he was a former NSA contractor who disapproved of the ideals and beliefs of the agency that he worked for. And he was ultimately accused of stealing classified documents for the agency. Now, this raised much controversy because there were many opposing sides to the story. Uh, Many argued that he took it too far, endangering the country's security and well-being, while others agreed that what he did was very deserving for the people. The people deserved to know the truth and the plans of the government. So they thought it was the right thing to do. Now, overall, Snowden essentially revealed various violations of the NSA, including breaking communication links of data centers to spy on user accounts, over hundreds of millions of these user accounts, actually, as well as infringing upon federal privacy laws. And overall, in my opinion, I was surprised that many people disapproved of Snowden's actions simply because not only, I mean, they didn't really infringe upon the safety of the citizens as much as they raised awareness for the American citizens. So I thought it was very helpful in the end. But again, everybody has their own opinion, so there are many sides to the story. But
The reason this case is important to democracy today is because it directly parallels all of the people that have been saying for such a long time that, oh, the government's spying on what we're doing on the internet, and the Edward Snowden leak just confirmed all of those fears. And the government never really told anybody what they were doing. The NSA was doing all this behind the backs of even other members of the government. And the head of the CIA even went on the stand in front of the Supreme Court and directly lied to them about this issue. So the Edward Snowden leaks are helpful, but they also did hurt many, I wouldn't say like individuals, but the country as a whole. Because when Edward Snowden leaked this information, he immediately was wanted by the United States government. So he in part then fled to Russia. And of course, Russia wanted to know all of the secret stuff that he had kept from the United States government. And now it's not necessarily an issue of national security within our borders, but there were a lot of documents that detailed what the United States military was doing overseas, in the Middle East in particular. So it might not be a national security threat at like in our borders, but it did set back progress that we had been making in the Middle East. But for the Americans as individuals, it did open up the light and did show people what the United States government was actually doing with their information. So any phone call, any Facebook post, anything that you post on social media in general is going into this big data mine that the government is then sorting through, looking for keywords of anything that could be a national security threat, which, if you're not doing anything wrong, isn't necessarily a bad thing, but some people just feel that they have a right to their privacy, which is true. The government doesn't have a right to sort through everyone's personal lives. They aren't coming into your house asking what you're doing at all times. And the internet is the same kind of thing. It's your personal, it's not your personal beliefs because it is the internet, but it's what you're posting on the internet you choose to post, and it's part of your personal life. But the government does have the right to go through that stuff if they do deem it to be, I guess, harmful to the general public.
Yep.
But at the same time, they can't go through everybody's stuff just because they feel that it's going to benefit the country as a whole.
And now it's important to remember that this situation with Edward Snowden directly parallels everyday breaches of privacy, from somebody reading your texts or listening in on your phone calls. Those are breaches of privacy that happen every single day. And while this incident with Edward Snowden was on a large scale basis, this type of violation of privacy happens every day. So it's definitely understandable for why this is such a big issue today.
So, in conclusion, the Edward Snowden hack was a big deal. It happened on a large national scale. But if you think about it in comparison to what happens in your everyday life, like people reading your text, people overhearing your phone conversations, it's similar to that, just on a larger scale. So there's no real need to be alarmed by it. It's just something that we have to accept that happened and move on from it.
Definitely.